Hello everyone, my name is David Allen Gay, and thank you very much for watching the 13th episode of David Needs a Job. Before I continue with this episode, I want to apologize for any background pounding, drilling, or grinding sound that you may hear. It is the renovation work, repair work my landlord is doing on the outside structure of my apartment building. We have to keep the windows closed to keep the dust out, but unfortunately, in addition to making the apartment a lot hotter than it actually is, it's 34 degrees inside, but only 30 degrees outside. It's also amplifying the sound. So hopefully it will not interfere with the audio quality of this video. Thanks. Now the topic of this video today is something that I recorded on YouTube about 11 months ago. Here is a segment of what I recorded and uploaded. It's simply entitled My 1000th Day of Unemployment. This particular experience right now that I'm going through is very confusing. I have thrown pretty much everything I know, time, effort, even money, into this particular problem, which is my job search. And 1,000 days later, I'm still not working. I've not come up with a solution to a problem. And, you know, one would think this is not a big problem compared to what I used to handle at my last job. Yet, it has confounded me. It has puzzled me. It has, you know, to use a young person expression, I got nothing. I don't know what is going on. I recorded that video back in September of 2012, and it was because I couldn't put into words on my blog what I was feeling that Saturday morning when I woke up. I know that I felt not too good, but it was more than that. And even though I put my best description in the video, I still don't think I quite got it. The best way I could probably describe it was I was feeling a lot of emotions mixed together in a cocktail that added up simply to I don't care about anything anymore type state of mind. I didn't care about the fact that it was nice and sunny outside, not too hot, not too cold. I didn't care about the fact that 2 days ago I found a gift certificate in my dresser drawer, Tim Hortons, $20, where I could go and actually treat myself to something better than a cereal. I didn't care about the fact that I was in good health. I didn't pretty much care about anything at all. It was like, well, I guess it was depression, but it was more than that. It was simply the little flame inside me that kept me going, the spirit, the spark, the soul, as you were able to call it. It simply died. I was simply a hollow shell with no initiative and no drive. Looking back, I'm really shocked by that video. Not by the fact that I actually recorded it and uploaded it to YouTube for everybody to see. That was actually the intention. I wanted to capture my emotional state on that day better than a written word in a blog post would. I'm more surprised by what I saw in that video. I saw a guy that looked just like me, sounded like me, but looking at him, it was not me. It was somebody who was the exact opposite of who I normally am. It was a person who was in despair, emotionally beaten, despondent. He looked like he did not know what else he was going to do or where he was going to go. And the subject of that video and the topic of today's episode of David Needs a Job is to stress that point. The long-term damage that being unemployed does to a job seeker. I've said this enough times in my series and in my blog post that people in general have a misconception about unemployed folk like myself. That we're lazy, shiftless, we like being where we are, we like the fact we don't have to go to work, we like sponging off the government, blah, blah, blah. You know, that sort of nonsense that I always hear. But we don't want to be here. And that guy in that video did not want to be where he was. That guy wanted a job. That guy wanted a purpose. But he has been rejected and put through the grinder and told to make so many hard choices, one time too many. The whole universe around him, bang, just exploded. And his ego deflated and his self-esteem collapsed when he woke up that morning. And he was at a loss for words. That is the damage that this sort of thing does to job seekers. We are told that we have to be optimistic and smile and have hope looking for work, that maybe tomorrow will be better. And we are told to play the games, applying for jobs and going through the interview process, putting up with trick questions like, if you were a tree, what type of tree would you be? Or why is a manhole called a manhole? Yeah, I actually got asked that question during an interview a few days ago. We are told to be polite, respectful, even when the person we're applying for a job at is disrespectful to us, making us look like all of this was our fault. We read the news and we see our governments doing things that are not doing anything to help those in a sorry situation like myself, but seem to be doing more for lining their own pockets and giving themselves privileges and perks. Quite frankly, they don't deserve. They're there to serve us, yet they seem to be serving themselves. And we're told to simply take it and to accept it and to keep it in. But the problem with that bit of advice is that every time you go to an interview and you go through these games and you're being played a putz, only to find out you tried so hard and you get some sterile answer of your qualifications were impressive, but we have found the person for the job. Every time you go to an employment center to ask for help, and instead someone breaks your fob and treats you like a number on a spreadsheet. Every time you go to a temporary agency, you go through training to be ready to do temporary work, and you pass and you do great, and then you're told 3 weeks later that, oh, well, there's no work for you, and you basically wasted your time and your afternoon for nothing. Every time that adds up and adds up and adds up and adds up, until one day, pow! The whole thing comes completely crashing down. Big, loud bang. And your ego and your self-confidence and everything deflates in one massive whoosh all over. On that day, if the Grim Reaper knocked on my door, held a scythe in one skeletal hand while beckoning with the other one, saying, "Your time has come. It's time to leave this mortal world." You know what my response would have been if that actually happened? Okay, I'm ready to go. I would have been like a mad dash to take his hand and go into the hereafter. But I would have not cared about it. I would have simply have said my goodbyes and walked with Mr. Skeleton to whatever life or afterlife awaited me. That's how I felt. And that's the hollowness that I experienced on that day. Now, how did I get past that? How did I become more myself and get back into my job search and started doing things like my video series and additional blog posts? How did I get past that? Well, I simply switched off the job search. I went for a walk outside. I treated myself to that Tim Hortons card that I told you about. Talked to some friends, talked to family members, got a fresh perspective, and left it alone for a few days. And pretty soon I came back to who I was again. And I started the ball rolling with my job search. And I started to at least care for something. Probably because I got all that anger and resentment and frustration and despair and sadness and whatever it was that was eating me alive inside. You want to know something? Instead of just simply putting up with the disrespect and the discourtesy and simply going through the games that I was forced to play in order to apply for a job, had I responded in a different way, even if it was inappropriate, I probably would have not had the big emotional crash that I had that led me to create that video on that day. For example, I should have said to that person at the interview who asked me that question about if I were a tree, what type of tree would I be? Or why is a manhole called a manhole? I should have said, what does that question have to do with my qualifications for the job? Are you trying to trip me up? Are you trying to make me look foolish? Is this the sort of thing that I'm going to expect if I'm an employee of your company? That you're always going to trip me up and make me look silly? Or perhaps I should have said to that person at the temporary agency who took my bank account information and took my SIN number with the promise of getting me temporary work, but did not deliver and kept me waiting for 3 weeks. Why would you do this to me? What type of game are you playing? Why did you take such confidential information and then tell me that you had no temporary work for me? Like, why even make me go through this testing and this revealing of confidential data just to say to me that there's nothing? What are you going to do with my data? And you're not going to do anything with my data because I want you to delete that data. I don't want you to have access to that information anymore. Maybe I should have said to that coordinator at the Employment Assistance Center who only has a job because their occupation is based on the misfortune and misery of people like myself who can't find work. That person who broke my fob and did not apologize. That person who would never return my phone calls or answer my emails. Or would say to me that the resume that the previous employment agency did was wrong and it's all my fault for going with this resume and that's why I don't have a job. How dare you treat me with such disrespect? How dare you break my personal property and not say you're sorry? And how dare you treat me like I'm some sort of row on a spreadsheet on a task list that you have to finish before 5 o'clock. So you get to go home and you get to tell all your friends and family, wow, what a tough day I had. I worked so hard. When in fact, you did not help me find work. Still, even though it would make me feel better by getting this off my chest, by speaking my mind and venting my spleen, I know that's not the solution to ending up in an emotional flat tire state like I described. It's not going to address my unemployment problem or the unemployment problems of others like me. What will solve the problem is an understanding by the captains of industry and those people who have influence in government that unemployment is a social problem. And until we adopt that line of thinking, people like me are going to be treated with disrespect and we are going to struggle. In any case, that's my episode for today. Thank you very much for watching this particular episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode soon. Have yourself a good day. Bye for now.